I'm a retired coal miner. I worked 32 years underground, and I'm a guide over in this museum over here now the last 12 years. Today, I'm going to take you in this mine that we have here to show you what it was actually like to mine coal back in the early 1920s and 1930s. And this mine that we're going to travel here today is a room and pillar type mine. And that's the type of mine that they would have done back in that era. And there was no big machines back in them days, so when guys went underground, two guys would go into a little room. All they would have would be a pick and a shovel, a can of powder, and they'd blast the coal out of the solid and load it in a box and send it up, and that's how they would get paid. So when we go through the door here today, we're going back in time, and we're going to see what it was like back in that age. Okay. Now this coal mining, it all began on this over 250 years ago. The first guys to mine the coal here were the French soldiers, and they mined the coal by getting it out of our cliffs. And we got 12 seams of coal. They're all layered on top of one another, and they all run out here underneath this Atlantic Ocean. The furthest one that we mined out into, we were up there close to 6 miles, and we were 2,700 feet below the ocean floor. That's where our coal was at, and that's where we have to go to get it. Now, some of those seams, of course, they outcrop to the surface. And with the erosion of the Atlantic Ocean, they got exposed. And the French soldiers, while they were building the fortress, they seen that, and they went ashore and they dug it out of the cliffs. And that was the very first mining of coal. The first underground mine, it was driven in 1720, and a little fishing village is not far from here. And that was driven by the French soldiers. So we have been mining coal and burning coal and exporting coal from that day right up until the year 2001 when our last coal mine closed. We are not mining coal here anymore on this island, but we're still burning it. And we still have 2 big power plants there. And they burn over 1 million tons of coal each a year. Now when this coal mining all began, it started out gradually and then it just started skyrocketing. It boomed. One time here, there was close to 10,000 coal miners here. There was a steel plant in Sydney, and there was 3,000 or 4,000 steel workers in there. So this island was booming at one time, and it was all over coal mining. Well, it started out gradually. It didn't start out booming, and it started out as little coal companies were operating here, and they weren't doing that well. So they formed one big coal company, and that coal company they formed was called a Dominion Coal Company. They owned all the coal mines. They owned all the houses that were in town. What they do, they build a little community right around the mine. They owned the houses, they owned the power supply, they owned the water supply. Stores that were in town were owned by the company. So it was a little company town. That company changed its name to BESCO, British Empire and Steel, around 1920. And from 1920 to 1929, BESCO ran the mines here, and that was the worst period of time on this island here. Miners and their families were starving during this period. If you were a miner and you worked for this company, you'd be working 6 days a week. And you'd be living in a house that you didn't own, you only rented the house from the company. In order for you to heat your house, you have to buy the company coal. The electricity and the water that you used in your house, you have to buy that from the company. The stores that you shopped into would be the company store. Everything that you needed to mine your coal, your pick, your axe, your maul, your shovel, your can of powder, everything, you'd have to buy it. And you had to buy it at the stores. So when you went to work, and you worked all week, and at the end of the week, when you went down to get your pay, they give you a little brown envelope, and all that'd be into it would be a little slip telling you where you worked and how much you owed at their store. You wouldn't be making any money. There'd be no money in it. So you had to go to their store. You were out of credit in their store. That's the way they set it up. And the further they got you in debt, the better they liked it. The more you owed them, they figured the more they owed you. All the places in the mine that wasn't fit to be into, the guys with the big bill would be the guys that be sent there. If you complained, or if any of the miners complained about working conditions, or looking for more money or wages or anything like that, first thing they would do, they'd shut the stores down. Wouldn't sell you anything. It was in the winter time, they wouldn't sell you any coal. Shut your power, shut your water off. That's the tactics they used to keep the miners at work. And the government wouldn't help them because the government was getting a royalty after every ton of coal that they mined. So they were on their own. And pretty bad times. And got that bad. Around 1925, there was a big strike here. And the miners went out, and they were out for months and months. Of course, they went out in the winter time. Bad choice. Because the first thing they done, cut their coal off, wouldn't sell them any coal. So what did the miners do? They started mining their own coal. They had little bootleg pits all over the place, in their yards. And they used to hoist up the coal, and they would give some to their family or their friends to keep them warm for that winter. Well, then the company said, well, that didn't work, we're going to try something else. So they started shutting their power off, shutting their water off. And finally, they shut the power off in the whole town. A little town in Waterford, not far from here. It was off for days and days. The town was in darkness. Hospital in town. Kids in the hospital, sick. They didn't care. The mayor tried to get the power restored. They wouldn't listen to him. Finally, it got to the point that the miners said, we are going to get our power back. We're going up to the power plant ourselves. And we're going up and we're going to turn the switch on. But when they got up there, they were met by the company police. And the company police had guns and they were on horses. And they fired shots in the crowd. 3 miners were hit. And 1 miner was killed. And his name was William Davis. And he left behind a wife and 10 kids. And she was pregnant. Well, when that happened, all the miners in all the other little towns, they heard about it. They goes over to this town, no Waterford, and they formed a big parade. And back up again they go to the power plant. And when they get up there this time, they were prepared. Got a hold of them company cops. They took them all downtown, and they fired them all in jail. And that night, when it got dark, they went around, and every one of them stores, they went into them, and they stole everything they put in them. They ransacked them. And after they got everything out, they burnt them. They burnt them to the ground. And that was the end of the company stores. Now, of course, they went in there that night, and it was pitch black. And them stores had everything and anything. Boots, shoes, clothes, anything you needed. And when they went in there, they just started taking everything and anything and going out with it. Well, you might have stole yourself a pair of boots, but when you get home and you looked at them, there were probably 2 left feet, or 2 right feet, or the wrong size. So the next day around town was the big joke. They were going around town, and they were trading one another. I'll trade a left for a right, or right for a left, or size 8 for a size 9, and that was a big joke around town the next day. And then the miners swore that they would never ever mine another pound of coal on June the 11th. And they never did. Next year, 1926, when June the 11th came, they all went over to that town again. But this time, they went over to the service that was being held for Billy Davis. And they swore there would never be another pound of coal ever mined in this island on June the 11th. And we never ever did. Never did. Even this year here, 2011, the miners observe it as a holiday. Now it's called Miners' Memorial Day. Back in them days, it was William Davis' Day. It wasn't uncommon for young boys to be working in the coal mines. And them young boys were as young as 8, 9, 10 years old. Oh. And they would go down with the miners and they come up with the miners. They were called trapper boys. When we go underground here today, I'm going to show you what his job was and what he had to do. I see we got a couple of boys on our crew right here today. Are you interested in the job, son?
Yes.
How old are you?
I'm 9.
9? See, a perfect age.
Wait, I'm not really into it. I'm only into hockey.
You're what?
I'm into sports.
You're into sports?
And I really think this is a professional sport.
Professional sport. Are you? But you got to work first. We'll let you play hockey on Sundays. That'll be your only day off. You work 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. I'll go pay you.
A day.
What?
That's my video game time.
Your video game time? I'm going to pay you. You won't have to go to school anymore. Do you like school? You don't like school?
I hate school.
Well, there's your chance. You're at the school, starting tomorrow. When you come up tomorrow, when you come up after this tour, you won't see the girl put your resume in, because we'll be hiring right away. You might even start tonight on the back shift.
But you got a bit of a problem. I'm from Toronto, not here.
Oh, you'll be moving here. We got houses over here. You'll see when you go over. Did you see the houses over there yet?
Yes, and they freaked me out because there was a bunch
Well,
of...
that's where you'll be living. And guess what? You'll have to get up. You'll have to get up at 5 o'clock every morning. And you come over to here, the wash house. This will be your wash house. I'll put some old pick clothes on the hook here for you. And that'll be your pick clothes. And you change in your pick clothes. And then you go underground. And you'll be down there until, 5 o'clock tomorrow evening. And when you come up, and you do that every day, and at the end of the week, I'll pay you 65 cents for every day that you work.
65 cents? I was hoping $1,000.
But anyway, guys, young boys like that, they be going down in them days. And they be going, how's this guy, the young guy over here? 13. 13? Well, you'll be in the mine 2 or 3 years now. You would be driving a horse. And you'd be hauling coal out. So would you like that? Sure. Right? And then as you get a little older, then you guys can buddy up and I'll put you in a little section. You two can go down low coal all day long. And do a good job for us. Huh? Well, aren't you glad you're born in this era, not back in them days? The boys were working back in them days because if their father went to work, now the mines weren't run that safely back in them days. There was no rules, no regulations like we got today. And the company, they had to run them. So there was a lot of places in the mine that wasn't fit to be into. And a lot of guys, there was a lot of fatalities. And there was a lot of guys getting hurt. And a lot of guys getting sick and couldn't work anymore. And the condition was, as long as you lived in the house, somebody from your family would have to be in the pit at all times. So if you went to work, something happened to you, and you couldn't work anymore, it wouldn't be very long. And the coal company cops would be knocking on your door. And they'd be telling the wife, your husband can't work anymore, dear. You've got to get someone else. So we're going to put you out on the street, and we're going to move another family in here. Bag and baggage, you'll be out. And the only thing would save her if she had a young boy in the family. So she'd have to take him out of school. He could be in school on Friday, and he'd be in the pit on Monday. And that's how most of the boys were working. That's why they were working. But anyway, that company, it folded. After that big strike and that, she kind of went downhill then, and then they were out of town. And the next company came in was Dasco, Dominion Coal and Steel. And that's the company that I started with. And I started here in a big pit here in Glace Bay. And the mine that I started into was number 26 Powder. It was a big, big old mine, and it was worked for over 100 years. It employed 1,200 men when I started that. And a typical day for me, I would have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, like I told the young fellow there. And I'd come out to the wash house. It would be your first stop. When you go in that wash house, you open up the door and you walk in. All you'd see would be hooks hanging from the roof like those here. 300 of them. And they'd be all hanging from the roof. And that's where you kept your pick clothes at. Because most days when you come up, your clothes would be wet. And you hang them up there to dry. And then, what was it like in there? Well, there'd be 300 guys in there or more. Guys coming up off the back shift, getting dressed to go home, and then guys getting changed to go down. So there'd be lots of chatter, lots of guys talking, lots of guys hollering and tormenting one another, all kinds of stuff going on in there. You never had to read a newspaper because you heard all the news in there. And all the hockey games and ball games that were played the night before, they played them in there play by play. All the world problems, they were all solved in there. Them guys knew everything, about everything. I could never understand why the politicians never used to come in that wash house and just walk through for about an hour. They would know everything, how to solve all the problems in the world, in the country. Because them fellas knew it. And guys, if you never heard a rumor before you put your pick clothes on, start one. And I guarantee you, by the time you got your pick clothes on, the rumor would be back here, and it'd be 3 times longer than when you started it. That's what it was like in there. And after you get all that out of your system, you lower your hook down and you put your pick clothes on. And after you got your pick clothes on, you go through to the lamp house. In the lamp house, there will be a guy passing out little lamps like I'm wearing here. But before he give you the lamp, you had to give him your check number. A little brass tag, one of those. You'll be getting one of those tonight when you're going down. You give that to the lamp man, and the lamp man will give you the lamp. And he puts it on the board. And as long as you're underground, your tag is on the board. When you come up, you get your tag. And that's how they could track who was down, who was up. And after you got your tag in, Your lamp on, you would go outside, you walk up a big ramp, and at the very top of the ramp, there would be a big cage, a big iron cage. You step into the cage and it would lower you down into a shaft for 680 feet. And when you got down to what we call the pit bottom, there would be little wooden boxes waiting for you. Them little wooden boxes would be about 25 of them, and they'd be all connected together. And the last one would have a little electric locomotive onto it, and it would take you in this long tunnel. You get in there 4.5 miles, you would transfer from that one into another one that would lower you down the slope. And that would take you down another mile, mile and a half. And when you get down to that point, you'd be now 6 miles out under the ocean and you're 2,700 feet below the ocean floor. And the type of mining that was going on was longwall mining and some Roman pillar. And if you were on the wall, big shears would be going up and down and cutting coal all night long. If you're one of them guys on the wall, that shear starts, all it's going to do is cut the coal, but it makes lots of dust. So you will be in dust continuously. And at the end of your career, you'll have black lung like the rest of us. And your biggest fear would be gas. Because when you're cutting coal, it gives off the gas. And the gas is called methane. You can't see it, smell it, or taste it. But you have one little spark. And that shear strikes stone or something like that and causes a spark. You can have an explosion. And that's what you'd be thinking about. I mean, you wouldn't dwell on it. But you'd be thinking about it. It'd be in the back of your mind all night. But anyway, back in the earlier years, they never had big machines like that. So when we go in this mine here, we're not going to see anything like that. This mine never worked since 1967. So we're not going to have any gas. And we're not going to see any big shears operating. We're going to see what it was kind of like back in them days. We're going to go down. We're going to see the mode of transportation back in them days was done with a horse. And then we're going to go in and we're going to see where the young boys work at. And I'm going to explain his job. And then we're going to come right around, we're going to go into a little room, and I'm going to demonstrate and show you how they used to actually cut the coal and load the coal. We used to call that cut, shoot, and load. And then we're going to come back out and around again. We'll have a little seat down there, we'll have a little discussion around there. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. This here is the old wooden boxes. There were no brakes, no canopy, just an old wooden box, and you would sit in those boxes and you take in this long border road, and then after that, we transfer you to another one that would go down the slope like this here. Okay? Now, on the slope like this, there would be about 15 or 20 of them, and they'd be all connected together. The last one had a big rope on it, and when everybody got into it, one guy would be the chain runner. And that chain runner would put his hand up in the air. You would hear him holler, "Right down!" And when he'd done that, he'd pull on a little cord. And all he was doing was sending a signal to the hoist room. And the hoist room man was the guy that actually ran the trip. He heard a little bell going ding ding. When he'd take the brake off, when he took the brake off, you'd feel a little jerk in the box. And then when he puts the power on it, whoosh, away she goes. And she'd be going down like a little roller coaster. She'd be going down like that. It wasn't nice and bright like that with all that nice concrete around you and all that. It'd be timbers and booms. And no lights. Here's what it looked like going down, right? There's what it looked like. Okay? And this one guy, everybody else would have their light out. Because you don't want to burn this light out before you can. And one guy, he'd be shining his light down like that, and he'd be making sure that there was nothing on the road or anything on the way down there. So, that's how you went down. And, would you be scared? Yeah. Huh? Yeah, the first couple of times. You get used to it after that. You drive it for 32 years, you gotta get used to it. You gotta drive it. You can't, there's no walking. But sometimes you might be going down into it, and you wouldn't get used to this. Sometimes them trips went down, and you were into it, and if something happened to that engine up there, say it was in the winter, there was a big snowstorm on, knocked the power out. Well, the engine stops, but this thing keeps going all the way to the men, and it would stretch and stretch the rope, right? Now it would get to the point the rope was now like a bungee cord, and it would stop and then it would shoot up the deep, so it would be going up and down like that. You're in it, your old stomach is going up and down, and you'd be saying, "Will I jump out of it?" But if I do, I could hit the wall and bounce in underneath it, and run over and kill it. So you got to stay with it, and you got to hope for the best, and hope that the rope don't break. But anyway, you get a little thrill like that now and then as you're going down. Okay? Now when you're starting down, There's a trip down there, and he's coming up. The back ship's coming up, and you're going down. But you're going to get to the point, and you're going to meet, okay? And usually, they would stop. Somebody would stop it, and you get a report off the guys, because they're just coming out after the while that you're going in. So they give you a little report, like, how's the conditions tonight? Well, we got bad roof here, you got bad roof there, or she's gassy tonight, or be careful. They give you a little verbal report. And then I'll guarantee you, before the trip pulled away, especially if it was handy the winter time around, somebody would holler to you and say, how's the weather? Because them guys wouldn't know how the weather was. They're down there all night long. And then somebody's going to say, well guys, I'm going to tell you, you're not getting home tonight. There's a snowstorm on up there you wouldn't believe. You're not getting into the parking lot. So you might as well make up your mind you're going to stay in the wash house. They took all the plows off. They'd lay it right on. Okay? And then when they get up there, it'd be a beautiful night. It wouldn't be a flake down. And you'd be saying, we'll get dead belts tomorrow. Okay guys, let's move down. Now guys, we are now just about going to enter into one of the coal seams, and the coal seam that we're going into here is called a harbour seam. I told you we got 12 seams of coal, they're layered on top of one another. Well, we're only going in one. You're standing on more coal. Between this seam and the next one down there is about 500 feet of stone, and then there's another big seam down there. So we're going in on one. Our coal seams are about 300 million years old, and our coal is a bituminous coal, it's a soft coal. And this is where the miners started, right here. Here's all the coal, right here. That part that you just watched was done by the contractor. Well, that there, right there, that's all the coal right there. And this is where the miners started at. And they took a shot of coal out of here, and they put up the booms and the timber. Everywhere where you're going to walk here today, there used to be a solid block of coal at one time. So they drove right through it and set it all up, okay? Now, when you come in here, like our little tour, that we're going to do is about a quarter of a mile walk around, and she didn't tell you. And we're going to be 65 feet below the surface. This mine here, it didn't go out underneath the ocean. So we're not going to be out underneath the ocean, okay? But if anybody wants to go out underneath the ocean, let me know, and I'll give you a pick and a shovel, and you can continue on out. It's not that far, okay? Just down below there, that's where they stop, right at the cliff. So, anyway, when you come in here now, it's going to start getting lower, okay? For some of us. Some of us are going to have to start bending over and banging our heads and knocking our hats off. I'm okay, and well, you were okay, and the little girl was okay, or little boy, where did they go? They're okay. But some of us will be bending over. So just take your time, watch your head as you're coming through it, like you're banging your head. Now you know why we give you hard hats. Now guys, that there, I told you room and pillar. Well, that there would be the room. That opening there would be the main room going in. And off of this main room, there would be other little rooms. And in each little room, there would be two men in there, and they'd be loading coal in the box and sending it out. And this here would be the pillar, right there. That's all coal in behind there. And then pillars, sometimes they'd be 50 by 50 by 50 or 100 by 100 by 100. They would leave pillars of coal like that to support the roof. You had to do it systematically. If you come down, you just couldn't come down and start taking coal from everywhere or anywhere. You'd lose your pit. But so you leave pillars of coal in as you're going in. When you get in there, then the company would say, okay, now we're going to start taking them pillars out. I want you to start taking the pillars out as you're coming out. And you call that stumping the pillars. And that used to be dangerous. Because you go in there and start taking them pillars out, the roof is going to start coming in. The roof is going to start getting heavy on you. And it's going to start coming in. You'd have to stick up a few timber to hold it. And then after you got your coal out, you would have to go in with an axe and cut the timber out to let the roof come in. Because if you didn't, it would throw the weight out to where you're at. And when the roof comes in, then you go up 100 feet or 200 feet, and be big fat slabs of stone coming down, and dust and gas and everything, and you have to boot her out. And you get to pay the little danger pay for that. Going in, you get 66 cents a ton, and coming out, you get 68 cents a ton. Okay? So that's the difference. So now today, we're going to work our way down around this little pillar here, and we're going to come right around here. Longwall mining would be a little different, okay? That would be the level, top level. Be driven in there by a big machine. No rooms, just one big long level. Down below, you go down 1,000 feet and do the same thing. Connect the two of them up inside. Put your shearer on it and all your jacks, and then the big shearer will go up and down, cutting that big panel of coal, working back this way. And now you call that longwall retreat. And that job will be coming in behind you, but you would hear it, you would see it coming in, and there'd be big stone and everything coming, but you'd be out underneath the jacks. Now we're going to turn in here, guys, and there's a low boom when you're coming in underneath here, so just make sure you duck your head in underneath it. Down below, down there, this is where that mine stopped at, and what it is right now is our sump. We got a little sump pump down there, and we're pumping our water in. You always got to have one of your deeps down below your workings. If not, the water is going to build up on you. So you set up a pumping system, and you pump out your water, okay? And that's where the ocean would be at, just down below there. If anybody changed their mind, they want to go out under the ocean, just go down there and pick up a shovel and a pick, keep going, and I'll let you know when you're out there. Okay? The rest of this will turn in here. Did I hear a bang?
Now you know what kind of hack.
Now guys, maybe we can split in two. So many on one side and so many on the other there. That's great. Now guys, what you see in front of me right here, this would be a board stopping. And the reason why that would be built would be to control of the ventilation or the airflow. The most important thing in a coal mine is fresh air. You got to get fresh air down here to breathe, and you also got to have fresh air to dilute the gases. How do they do it? Well, they set a big fan on the surface, and they blow down the air to you. But you got to direct that air where you want it to go. If that stopping wasn't there, all the air would go in this section and back to the surface, and the rest of the mine would fill up with gas. So you build this here. It's like a restrictor, and of course you'd have to put a door on it. And with the big fans that they have today, that one door there, there'd be that much pressure on it. One man wouldn't be able to open it. They'd have an airlock here. You'd have two doors. But years ago, they never had big fans. And they never had that much pressure on doors. So they'd have to have somebody here to make sure that that door is kept closed. And this is where the young boys would be working. Every door like this here, there would be a young boy here. And he'd be sitting here. He never had a buddy, and he never had a light like I got. He was sitting here all by himself. Where's my doorman? Where's my trapper boy? You coming up, buddy? You wanted the job. Here it is. What? You coming up? Come on up now. Listen to me and listen to my story here, because this is what you have to do. What's your name?
Scott.
What's his name? Scott? Scott?
Stop it.
Scott? Here's what you got to do. You'll be sitting here all by yourself. You never had the light. Okay? What would you use for a light? Well, you started out, you only had the saucer with a can, but we're going to give you a little more than that.
I would grab coal, get wood, and start rubbing it together.
Oh, you couldn't do that. Now, he'd be sitting here, he started out, he only had a little lamp. It looked like a little teapot, okay? And he hooked it on his head, and the wick stuck out of it, and he lit that, and that was an open flame in a coal mine. Imagine. Go back in the history books, you see all the gas explosions back in the 1800s. He'd be sitting here, he'd be waiting and waiting. When he hears this, well, that's the driver on the other side. He wants him to open the door. He opens the door, the horse comes through, they take the box off, full box, puts the empty on, he goes inside, and now he's sitting here all by himself again. And he's sitting here till somebody else comes out. And he's 12 hours a day. When he gets hungry, he opens up his lunch can. And of course, he opens up his lunch can. What else is down here? Rats. Big rats, yeah. So now he got his sons, they're going to come out now because they can smell the food. Yeah. And you know what? He'd have his pants legs tied up to his shoelaces so they wouldn't run up his legs on him. And when he ate his bread, he'd throw the crust over to the side to keep the rats away from him. And you know when it used to be the worst, guys? Even in my time. Big first pit I worked into, there was lots of them there. But you know when it was bad? Right after vacation. Because all the miners went on vacation at the same time. And there was nobody in the mine. The rats weren't getting fed. So when you come back after vacation, now they would be brazen. Now they'd be hungry. I know guys that wouldn't even work for a couple of days after vacation. And guess what, guys? You guys came at the wrong day. Today's our first day back after 3 weeks vacation, would you believe? What? So I'm looking for somebody to go in and check and see how bad they are today. And they preferably like those little flip-flops with the red toes on them. Anybody got them on? Oh, huh? But anyway, Scott, now that you heard the story, is this your job? Do you want it or not?
Yes.
You want to stay in school? How's school looking now? Is it a little better? Huh?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you remember when you have a bad day in school and you want to quit, say, I know a guy down in at the Miners Museum. I'll hire me. I think I'll go. So remember. Okay? Okay then, let's go in. Hold the door, Scott. We're going in. You don't want to go in? Well. He's going back to school, I think he said. Changed his mind. I hope you're a good hockey player. You want to be a professional hockey player, you got to stay in school and stay out of the pits. They used horses in the Cape Breton coal mines right up until 1952. And that's how they transported the coal from inside out to here, was with a horse. Okay? And as you can see, they would need a small horse to be able to work in a low seam like this. See, what determines the height in the coal mine is the thickness of the coal seam. Now this coal seam, it only goes up to here. Okay? That's all coal there, all around you there. What's over your head though is stone. And you're standing on stone. And the company, all they're going to take is the coal. But they needed a little horse. Well, there's an island off the coast here that's called Sable Island. And there's small horses on little Shetland ponies. And that's where they got them at. And they'd bring them horses over here. They would train them and put them underground. Before 1944, the miners didn't get a vacation. The only holiday they had was Christmas Day. So when them horses were put underground, they never come back to the surface. They lived and they died down here. After 44, when they did get a vacation, then they used to take them up. Just before vacation, they would march them out to the pit bottom, put a blindfold on them and lift them up in the cage and take and put them in the big field. And that was right up until 1952. And then electricity was introduced, and then they started mechanizing the mines, and they started hauling coal with little electric engines. And we even had little diesels down here one time. Used to haul 14 boxes of coal. But the old horses, he only hauled 1 or 2 boxes maybe. So anyway, when we go inside, like I said, you'll see how they were hooked up to the coal, the box, and we'll talk a little more about them in there. Okay? Is everybody all right?
Yeah.
How much were you paying?
Anybody have any questions? No? I was here the other day and I said, has anybody got any questions? And this woman was way in the background and she hollered up and she said, yes, Sheldon, I got a question for you. When you got hired on, did they hire out little short guys like you? I said, dear, when I got hired on, I was 6'2". Yeah.
You're about 4 feet.
Now guys, that there would be a typical little room right there. And 2 miners would be in that little room right there. And they'd be putting up timbers and booms like you see there. Go in another 50 feet and drive another room. Okay, so we're in the main room here. And that there would be a room off of it. And after they got it broke through, then they would build a stopping across there to stop the air, because you want to keep the air going inside with you as you're going. When they done that, well, now it's not a room anymore. Well, now it is a room. It's a bathroom now. So if you had to go, there's where you had to go there. You didn't go all the way back to the surface, okay? And if anybody really has to go right now and missed it up top, have fun right up in there. Be careful where you walk, because I don't know who was in there before you. Okay? Now guys, this here would be how big the horse would be, a little pony like this. And this is the box that he would have to haul out. And the box weighed a ton and it held 2 tons. Now those horses had to be led in and out. They didn't go by themselves. And who would do that? The young boys. Where's that young boy who was 12 years old? That's 12, 13, huh? 13. There, well, here's your job here. What's your name?
Ethan.
Ethan, here's your job here, buddy. This is what your job would be. And when you come down tomorrow, first place you'd head for would be the stables where Fred is at behind me here. And there'd be about 40 horses in there. And you take your horse and you go over to your section and you would haul coal with them all night long. Now out there, Ethan might have been getting 65 cents a day. But now that he's a driver, he's going to be on contract. And he's going to get paid by how many boxes he takes out. And for every box of coal that he takes out, he's going to get 17 cents for it. Good day? Huh? You get 10 boxes out, you're going to get $1.70. What would that buy you? I don't know. And and make sure when you come down, get the same horse that you had yesterday. The drivers used to like the same horse every day, because the horse gets used to you. The horse gets used to it, he's going to work for you. Okay? And they used to bring out treats to their horse. Well, bring him out a little treat tomorrow when you're coming. No, they used to bring him out all kinds, right? Nut bars and chocolates and one guy told me he even used to give his horse chewing tobacco, and he loved it. Yeah. So if you're chewing, bring him out a little piece of chewing, and maybe that you'll get that horse. But anyway, in the stables, the guy in there, and he looked after the horses. He watered them and he fed them. And he fed them oats and they fed them hay. And the only time they would feed them oats would be maybe a half an hour before their shift to give them some extra energy. So the stables were kept nice and clean. They were washed down every day. And the roof in the stables were always higher than that's the only place for the horse to be able to pick up his head and rest, because he had his head hung over all day long. So they made the stables higher than what the roof the seam of coal was. That would be the only place. Okay? And like I told you out there in 1952, then they took them all away. I seen one horse. When I started, 1965, there was still one horse in number 26 Colliery. And he was down around on the pit bottom. There was a guy looking after him, and they used to use him just for hauling material up on all levels of secure. But when that guy retired, they gave him the horse. And he took the horse home with him, and that was the end. That was the last horse. I think his name was Frazier. Okay? So if anybody wants to get pictures of the horse, you're more than welcome to take them, and it's lighting down around here, and they come out pretty good. Okay? Yeah, come on over here, look. Here's where you sit. You sit right up there, put your foot up there, and swing right around. Sit right up on the box. That's it. There's another low boom here, guys. Just be careful coming in from underneath here. Now guys, this here would be the typical little room I was talking about, okay? And 2 miners would be in here, and their job would be come in here in the morning, you and your buddy, and usually you pick your own buddy. And sometimes that'd be father and son, or brothers, friends, okay? You pick your own buddy because you're on contract, and you want to get a good buddy. You want to get a guy that you're able to get along with, because you could be with that guy for years and years and years. You come down in here in the morning, your job would be to set up that machine, to cut it, drill it, blast it, and load it in the box with a shovel. Okay? You come in here in the morning, the first thing you probably do, you would sit down and have on an old big piece of coal, open up your lunch can and have a quick sandwich. Because you're not going to see that lunch can probably no more that day until you're going home. Now, after you have finished your sandwich, you come in here. You'll be wondering, is there any gas in here? Because this would be a typical place where there could be a buildup of gas. Because when you're extracting the coal, you're also extracting the gas. Now, of course, today, guys, they have technology today, and they have methanometers that you can go around and press a button and you can just tell you how much gas is in here. Lock flame safety lamps were invented. They used them. But before that, the guys didn't have all that technology, but they had to find out if there was any gas in here. So do you know what they used? Canaries, if you believe. You must have heard about a canary in the coal mine. Well, they would take a little canary, put them in a cage like that, and hold them up along the roof. Cage would be on a stick. The gas I'm talking about is lighter than air, so it would be always along the roof. And they would go in with the canary. The canary is sitting up on his perch. You're okay. And he's singing and he's happy. You're okay. But if you get in there, and all of a sudden you put him up in a body of gas, now he starts fluttering and everything. Next thing you know, he falls off his perch. Now he looks like our little canary. Huh? Now you got a problem. Don't make a spark, whatever you do, because you could have a cause an explosion. You got to get the gas out of here. You got to get it out of here. So you have to hang a curtain probably from that corner into here to direct the air around. See what's happening? The air is coming up that crosscut and going out, and it's not getting in here. So you got to deflect it in here and probably drive the gas out of here. Then you'd have to go out and get another canary because you just killed this guy, right? And there was a market here in Cape Breton Island. Guys used to actually raise canaries, and they take them in and sell them to the company. So you got another canary, and you come in with him, and you ain't all the way. Well, hang him on the timber here, and you watch him, make sure he's okay. Now you're ready to cut. Now this here would be the machine. It's a radio machine. Come over from England about 1886. You would have to set it up, you and your buddy. You set this big column up first, put a big bar in there, tighten it up. Put this section on enough down there, tighten that up, put your air hose on. And this machine will cut from that rib down to that rib. And it will cut in there like a half moon. And it will cut in there 6 feet just by changing different lengths of steel onto it. And I'm going to turn her on, hopefully she can go, and it's going to be loud, and we're going to see if I can get her going for you. No. Don't think.
Does it have to go?
No. But anyway, guys, that thing will go bang, 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 and you'll be turning it around and around. One guy will be cutting out, the other guy will be turning around like this here. That thing will be chomping at the coal. You turn it around back and forth. The other guy here will be ducking it out. After you got it all cut out, you will take this machine down, put your hose on that drill, and then you would drill holes along the top and down along the bottom. Now you're ready to blast, okay? Now you would do the blasting with shot fire wood. And the shot fire was the guy that carried the detonators. But you had to carry your powder. Carry it down in a little can like this here. That little can would hold 8 pounds of powder. So when you left the surface, you'd have 8 pounds of powder in one hand, your lunch can under your arm, and a big gallon of water. And you'd have to come down and walk in with that. And when you got this can of powder on the surface, the guy to give it to you, he would ask you what your check number was. Send it over to the office. When he sends it over to the office, the reason why he done that, because you had to buy it. Remember I told you had to buy everything? You had to buy your powder, and of course you bought it at the store up there. So anyway, guys, the shot fire comes in. He takes your powder, pushes a hole into it, and then he'll hook a cable onto it. Everybody will go out. You would hear him hollering, "Fire!" and you hear boom. Now you and your buddy walks in here. When you're walking in, you're going to be met by a big cloud of coal dust coming out. And you're going to be in that then the rest of the day. And then you walk in here, there'll be no bright lights like that. You only got this light here. You push your box up. One guy get on one side of the box and the other guy on the other. This is the shovel you would use. Number 9 paint shovel. Okay? You load the box, shovel for shovel. And when you got it all loaded up, you put your tally on it. A little tally looked like this. Be a little hole in the box. Tie your tally on it. And when that tally gets to the surface, Jack Wayman up there would see we got tally 4. They had to get a guy and from their own ranks and pay them out of their pocket to watch the company guy. That's how bad it was. Then after you shot the coal, now you'd have to be concerned about the roof, because the roof is now not supporting it. You'd have to put something up. So this is why you would use those wooden booms and timber. You throw them out of the box that was in, and you drag them in here, and you put a jack underneath there, measure it, cut it with a crosscut saw, go in, shovel in again another 2 feet, go in, stop, put the other one up. If you didn't do that, and you kept going, eventually that roof's going to fall in on top of you, it's going to kill you. Okay? So, and you didn't get paid extra for that. That's what we used to call dead work. And the company used to tell us you're responsible for your own safety. Yeah. And anyway, guys, this here would be your water bottle that you would carry back in the days. A little copper can like this here, because there's no drinking water down here. And I also told you about the bathroom. So, okay, now here's your lunch can over here, guys. And you had to bring your lunch down in a can, right? Because if you didn't, if you brought it down in the bag, Archie the pit rat, he's down here. There's all kinds of those guys, like I told you. So, you couldn't bring your lunch down in the bag, or Archie'd have her gun on you. Huh?
It's a fake rat.
No, he's not. He's hungry. Huh?
Maybe it's probably from Dollarama.
Now, most guys didn't mind the rats, but some guys didn't like them. And if you didn't like a rat, don't tell anybody, because if you did, you wouldn't have a very good day down here. They'd be tormenting you all the time with them. Most guys figure, well, if there's rats in my section, I'm good. If the rats go, you go with them, right? But anyway, guys, some of you have heard the song, I'm sure. A Tennessee Ernie Ford used to sing, a load of 16 ton, and what did I get? Another day older and deeper in debt. Say, Peter, don't you call me, because I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. This is what he was singing about. A place like this here. Yeah. Now, if anybody wants to get pictures taken up there with the shovel or the pick or anything like that, you're more than welcome to do it. We're going to give you a few minutes before we go out. And okay. Anybody have any questions? Every year, we put a little garden in, as you can see, and the reason why we do it, because it's part of our history. Because there was a guy here that worked in the coal mines back in 1929, 1930. His name was William Krause, and he was a German guy, and he was a pretty good farmer. And he wanted to show everyone that he could actually put a garden in underground. So he made a little place right at the pit bottom. Dug it all out, and he put some plank around, and he got permission from the mine manager to do it, but he didn't get paid to do it. He done it on his own time. Now, he needed some topsoil down here. Well, the miners helped him out there, and they used to bring a little bit down for them all the time. What else did he need? Well, he needed fertilizer. I wonder where he got that at. Huh? The horses, yeah, he had all kinds of that. There was no shortage of that. He needed a light, but he didn't have fluorescent lights. He had a regular light. A couple of light bulbs tapped into the power supply, and he had his light down. Then he brought out some seeds, planted his little garden. Tell me he had some flowers growing, had some mushrooms growing, even had a few tomato plants growing. Which would have been ideal for mushrooms, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. They claimed it was the first underground garden in Canada. It was right here in this little town here in Glace Bay. Now I guess there's no big deal today about gardens underground. There's all kinds of them today. Only today they don't call them gardens. Today they call them grow-ups. You know what a grow-up is, right? Well, that's what he should have been planting if he had been smart. Yeah, and we would have been all happy. Huh? Anyway, guys, that big mine, was worked for over 100 years. It was as big as the city of Halifax and Dartmouth combined, and that worked right up to 1984, and we lost it. We had a fire in it. And when we had the fire, there was 50 guys in it, and one guy didn't make it. 50 guys made it out, one guy couldn't make it.
So 49 guys survived.
Yeah, we had to leave him there. We couldn't even get down to get to his body. 50 guys, and how them guys got out, we used to wear little soft rescuers on our belt. And they were smart enough that night, because you were trained, And you were told, if any time you see smoke or hear about a fire, put this little self-rescue on. And it could help you because it's good in carbon monoxide gas. It was good for up to 1%. So that's what they done that night. When they come through the door, the whole place was full of smoke. The fire was up the deep, about 2 miles away from them, but it was on another deep. But all the smoke was after coming down here in the gas. They put that on, and they were able to get out to the rake. When the rake took them up and they done a head count, and they figured out who was missing, they said two was Ronnie McDonald. They dropped the rake down to where his stop was, and he waited and waited and waited for him. And they took the rake up then. They thought he might have been into it. The rake was on fire, and he wasn't in it. And we tried to get back down to get to him, and we just couldn't get near it. Now the whole place was gone, and they had to seal it all off, and they had to cut the fans down and shut her down, and they never reopened it. And that was it. And that was the last mine here in Glace Bay, right here in this little town there in Glace Bay. We had an explosion in that mine in 1979, and we lost 12 men that night. And I was in the mine that night when it happened, but I wasn't in that section. But I did have to go in there and had to carry guys out, help the fellas that were burnt, carry the bodies out. But that was the worst accident in my time. Now there was another one in 1992, but it wasn't here. It was up in Westray, and I was up in that one because I was a draggerman, and we had to go up there at that time. But anyway, that big mine, then that was it. Then we all were out of a job, 1,200 of us, and we all went over into another mine in the Waterford, and that's where I ended up at over there. Now, people ask me, did you ever get hurt? Yeah, I had one bad accident in my career, and we're on the wall this night, and the wall was getting, the shear was going up and down, and the wall started getting heavy, and it started banging. You hear bumps, and it was bumping and banging, and the roof was getting heavy, and then it got bad, and then the roof started coming in, and it got higher and higher. The jacks wouldn't reach the roof, and then I had to go out and had to build chuck blocks on top of the jacks. And when I was doing that, standing on the pan line, the face came in on me, and the whole thing buried me. And the guys dug me all out, and put me on a stretcher, and they got me out. Had to walk out with me out to level, and then they put me on the stretcher and got me up. And that stretcher box that you see up here in the exhibits up here, that's what I went out in, and it got me to the hospital. When they done an X-ray on me, I had 7 broken ribs. And the doctor told me I was very lucky because they were all jagger. And he said you could have had a punctured lung. But that was the worst really bad accident that I had. But I did see guys getting hurt and getting killed, and I mean there was lots of fatalities. It was a darn dangerous place to be, guys, down here. But everybody had to look after one another down here. It was a different environment down here, I'll tell you that. Everybody was buddy-buddy down here. And you, I mean, you learned it as you come down here. You learned it from the old guys. I mean, we never went to school and seen a video or anything like that. You learned it when you come down here. It was the old guys that taught you how to do it. And if you didn't do it right, you were jeopardizing your life or somebody else's life. So it had to be done properly. And there was all kinds of different jobs down here. There was road makers' jobs and timmermen and brushers and basemen and coal cutters, machine operators. There was all kinds of jobs. But you had to do that job properly or you would be, you know, putting somebody else's life in jeopardy. And that's the way you had to work down here.
You don't have to talk. You have a masseuse at the top?
We have a choir practice. History on this little mine here. Like this was never a real operating mine, okay? It was actually a woman in town had the idea. Her name was Nina Combe, and she came up with the idea and she said, well, there's not going to be any coal mining in Cape Breton Island, so let's make a little museum. And it was actually a block of coal that was left here. And what they done, they hired 5 retired coal miners, and they come over and they drove this little mine, and they set it all up, and they made it look like a mine that was actually worked in the 1920s and 1930s. I think it took about 14 months to do it. They extracted about 5,000 tons of coal. The coal went to the power plant. The money came back in here. They invested it, and they opened it up. And it opened up in 1967 in our centennial year, and it's going ever since. And people like you to come visit us, that keeps it going. So tell all your friends about us so they'll come and visit us. Keep it going, keep Sheldon in a job here, you know. The price of beer, the price of gas now, it's, you know. But anyway,
9-year-old friend. Maybe they'll-
well, send them down. Yeah, send them down. Anyway, guys, I really enjoyed being your guy here today, and I hope you all enjoyed it. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your trip on the island here, and all the best to you all. Okay?